distance schooling, you can have structure at home. Hey, all you wonderful parents out there. I'm Wendy, and I homeschooled my 2 children and was fortunate to be a part of a wonderful and vibrant homeschool community in our area for support. And as my children got older, I worked at a public K-12 independent study charter school as a teacher first, and then eventually as an office clerk. And while I was there, I spent a good deal of my day supporting parents as they transitioned from traditional school to schooling at home. So I believe this makes me uniquely qualified to help parents right now as they're struggling under these new circumstances. And I thought that I might be able to help. So today I'm going to talk about structure. But first, remember to hit the like button so other parents who are struggling with these same issues can find this video. So let's talk about structuring school at home first. Structure starts with a workable schedule, okay? But the key to structure isn't the schedule itself, it's the consistent use of that schedule. So consistency is the key here. But you have to start with making the schedule. So let's talk about that. My advice is to write down a schedule or use a computer, something that you can move pieces around. So if you're using paper, make sure you're using pencil, not pen, because you will be moving things around. So start there. And when you get things eventually where you think they're going to stay for a little while, you're going to want to give a copy of the schedule to your kids. And that way they can keep you honest. But really, no, it's not because of that. It's really because it helps them feel like they have structure if they can see it, even if it's not what they're used to. Even the little ones, they can follow a schedule. They do it in preschool. It's on the board. They know what's coming next. Some of your schedule will be fixed, especially right now with everybody working from home, or a lot of us working from home. There might be times that you know you're going to have to be doing something, or they're going to have to be doing something. So go ahead and put that in. And I'm asking that you wait to fill in the rest of the schedule until after you've listened to this whole process, because I believe I'm going to be saying a few things that you may not have thought about when you're creating a schedule. The first thing that I want you to remember is that you can make a structure whatever works best for your child and your schedule. Doesn't have to be what they had at school. Try and stay open-minded as I talk about alternative structures that I know have worked very well for other parents and families as they've transitioned to home education. And remember, it's not the schedule itself that provides the structure, it's the consistency of the use of that schedule. All right, there's many things to consider when making a schedule for school at home, but I've broken it down into 5 different kinds of variables. Okay, how are they physically doing their schoolwork in terms of paper and pencil or computer? What content are they doing for schoolwork? Those of you in public school, that's pretty much decided for you. Where are they doing it within the home? When are they able to do it within the home? And then the last one is free time, which is a completely separate video. This video is long enough as it is, but I needed to get the rest of this information out to everyone. All right, let's look at the first 2 variables of how and what. For these, you'll need to consider what educational program your child's school has adopted during this time. Are they expected to be online at a certain hour of the day? Are they expected to be online for a certain amount of time each day? If they're TV learning, which some districts are doing, using public broadcasting and sending out teacher videos, this question still applies. What time do they need to be in front of that TV? Are all their assignments being done on computer? Or do they need paper, pencil, crayons, and that kind of thing? Now, these first 2 variables are important because you can't control how they're expected to interact with the school right now. And you also can't control what material they're expected to cover. So in some cases, that's all decided for you. Go ahead and build those unmovables into your schedule. Now, here I want to take a second and ask you to talk with your child about the next 2 variables, where and when. They should have at least some input into these. They need to buy into these plans too. It generally goes easier if they have some kind of agency, and this will help the structure to hold. Also, for older kids, getting used to self-scheduling skills can help them when they're off to college or going into business, or really all of us needed to learn self-scheduling skills at some point. It can only be good. The next variable we're going to talk about then is where. Now, you need to decide where they're going to do their schoolwork. You may have varying levels of control over this based on your home situation, but it needs to be addressed. Some of us live in smaller homes and it can be an issue. Now, older teens may be able to do it in their rooms, but younger ones may need you to be nearer by, so you're going to have to think about that. But either way, I'm going to ask you, it's important that you set up a spot for them to keep their school materials, whatever they need, and to sit while they're doing their work, a place to sit. Of course, you know your child better than anyone else in this world, and you all have different home situations and parenting styles, so use your judgment with this one. Some kids may have definite ideas about their schedules, and others may not want to be involved in it at all. And don't think that age has anything to do with that. I've known many young kids that definitely had ideas about their schedule, and sometimes the older ones don't want to think about it. So don't assume anything based on age. Also, use your best judgment when you're doing this, but consulting them, even if just giving them limited options to choose from, like you can sit in the kitchen or you can sit in the dining room, is a good idea. Let them have some of that agency. So variables to consider when you're looking at where to do your schoolwork. The first thing is sound, especially when you're like me and you live in a small house. Are you working on a computer, video chatting, or on the phone where you're making noise? Can you hear them or they hear you if they're working at the same time? Does your child need quiet? Do you need quiet? Definitely something you need to consider. Are you sharing the computer with your child? Are you sharing the workspace with your child? Maybe it's not a laptop and they have to come and share your desk. Think about that. You definitely can't be doing schoolwork and work at the same time. Or are they working in a common area of the house? Like, let's say, a desk in the kitchen or a dining table. Small homes can be challenging with this because maybe you have people walking around behind them and it's hard for them to concentrate. However, you can be creative. I did see one report of a man who lives with a family in New York City in a small place, and he actually took a board and put it on his stovetop, and use that for his workspace when he's at home. I am not advocating that, you put your children at the stove to work. Not at all. I only say this because it's very creative and you can think out of the box here. Look around your house with different eyes and see what you can work out. Another thing to consider is how independent your child is. Can they work with minimal instruction, or do you need to sit with them or near them while they work? An example of this would be teens may not need you at all, but little ones may need a lot of your time, especially in the beginning. Remember, right now, children are lost too, but in most cases, once they get used to the process, they will need you less. Is an outside space an option? A deck, patio, balcony, something like that. They're all potential places. A hammock might be used for reading assignments outside. Maybe a spot in a garage if you have one. Maybe you could spend some time this weekend creating an inviting space for them with their input. It has to have space for storage of the materials. It has to have space for doing their schoolwork. But other than that, let your imagination be your guide. I'm sure your child will be happy to brainstorm this with you. You can use this as an opportunity to teach them planning a project and for them to learn the fine art of decision making based on limitations. In other words, they can't say they want it in a tree house if you don't have a tree and you don't have the wood to make a house and you don't have the time to do it anyway. Okay, everybody has limitations we're working within. We want to get them comfortable with that as well. These are life lessons. We all have to work within our limitations, and being happy within those limitations is a wonderful thing if you can get them used to that. Now, you can use the answer to these and other questions that you might apply to your particular situation to decide where they'll be doing their work. Remember, be creative. It doesn't matter where it is as long as the student can focus and get their work done. I had a child that wanted to work underneath the table. I didn't think it was going to work, but you know what? She did it for a long time, got all of her work done. So don't just dismiss things out of hand. You never know what's going to work. And trust me, doing this will promote a loving, living environment, which is really what we're after right now. We're all getting a little sick of each other, so let's try and make things a little more loving. All right, now we come to deciding when they will do their work. This is where you have a lot of freedom with your scheduling. Remember that they don't need to keep the standard school hours, even if part of your day has mandatory online times. Based on your specific situation, things may change. Maybe they only have to do minimal work on the computer, but the homework part, they're going to be able to do whenever they want. So keep that in mind. There's a lot to consider when we're thinking about this, and there are many different kinds of schedules that I've seen work for households while adjusting to school at home. So make this work for your specific situation. You may even make different schedules for different children. Don't worry about when they go back to school next year. They'll remember the schedule just fine. Right now, you need to keep sane and promote peace in your house, and you have the power to do whatever works best for you. So use that power. So consider the age of your child. Teens usually like to sleep late and stay up late. Maybe they can do their schoolwork starting later in the day. And would that be helpful if the location you have is sharing a computer with someone? Maybe them having it later in the day would be better, and having a littler one on that computer in the morning. Or sometimes teens just do their best work later in the afternoon. So think about that. Littler ones tend to get up early, and maybe getting their work done then early in the day is best, and then they can have the free time for the rest of the day. It really depends on your specific situation. But here's where talking with them can pay off big. Let them have some agency in their schedule. Maybe they prefer to do one subject a day rather than doing a little of each subject each day. Most students can get a week's worth of work done in a day, and it helps them if they can keep their head into that subject. It may help them dive deeper into that subject, and it certainly will help them remember more of that subject. Maybe they prefer to do a couple of subjects every other day. A lot of schools do this: math and science on Monday and Wednesdays, or language arts and social studies on Tuesday and Thursday. Maybe you could do a week's worth of work of school on the weekends when you aren't working and can be more helpful to your child. This might be helpful with a younger child who needs your help, but you're having to work from home during the week. Learning doesn't happen just between 8 and 3, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Okay, learning happens 7 days a week, as long as they are awake. Okay, so remember, when you're making these schedules, think 7 days, not 5. Now you might have a child who would prefer to keep it the same as the school schedule, or as close to it as possible. And this can be tricky, especially if you're trying to work from home or have kids of different ages in schools. But where there's a will, there's a way. Don't give up. Give it a shot, or at least get as close to it as you can. Try and move your pieces around. No one said structure couldn't be gotten with some trial and error. You can figure it out. I believe in you. So remember, you're in control. Be creative. You can do this. A couple more things to consider when making a schooling plan for home require some observations on your part. These are not things that I want you to talk with your kids about, get their input. These are things I want you to observe and think about your specific child. You're going to observe their natural patterns and rhythms. When do they eat? When do they sleep? Do they need snacks? When are their peak times of energy, or when are they sluggish and sleepy times? If you have a child who's still getting used to not having naps in the afternoon, definitely don't plan on them doing some kind of schoolwork during that time. What is their attention span? Okay, this can vary greatly based on age, and it also varies based on the school subject. So again, you know your child best, but your average second grader isn't going to do math for 2 hours. So don't even try and schedule that. It's not going to happen. I'm sure I'm leaving some of these variables out, but think of your own behaviors that might affect when your child learns best. And please write a comment if you have other variables that you think would be helpful for other parents. We're going to help each other through this. Now you're going to have to make your own decision on this one. Is there an activity that you may be able to use as an incentive or a reward for them doing their schoolwork or finishing their schedule? I only suggest this because of the unusual circumstances that we're in. They're home, and many distractions look a lot better to them than their schoolwork right now. Okay, so as a parent, it can never hurt to have something like this in your back pocket that you can pull out when you need it. So things like, for instance, video games or TV, maybe reading outside or a special book. Painting, many parents like to reserve that because it's messy, so they only use it when they need it. Baking treats, again, they may need you to do that. Or a walk outside, again, they may need you to do that with them too. So think carefully about this. Only use this if you need to, and make sure that you have the time to spend with them for the activity if it requires it. Okay? They know, they will keep you honest. And if you said you're going to bake treats with your 8-year-olds on Friday after school or after the schedule's finished, if you don't have the time to do that, they may forgive you once and let it go. But if you do it again, that schedule's out. They're not going to keep to that schedule anymore. They're smarter than you think. They're very forgiving, but they also, if you're going to promise them something, you got to be prepared to carry it through. So make sure that you can follow through with whatever it is that you offer. The bottom line here is that there are many variables that you can consider when trying to build a schedule that works for everyone in the home right now. Remember, schedules can and will change. You know this from everyday life. How many days actually go the way you planned, whether at work or at home, right? We make plans, God laughs at us, right? Rarely are schedules perfect on the first try either. Remember when they were babies, we were trying to make schedules and we were just following them around. We couldn't do it. Remember, you can tweak a schedule. Think of it like an old radio dial. Dial it in till you get it close enough to live with, and then you crank up the consistency. Consistency of schedule will give you the structure that you and they are craving while you're schooling at home. You can do this. But the last thing I want to leave you with is this. Even though they may be driving you crazy right now, you love your child. You know them better than anyone else on this planet, and you need to trust yourself. Trust yourself to break from the traditional school schedule if it makes it easier on your life right now. It doesn't mean that you're ruining your child or causing them problems with the adjustment when they go back to school. They know these are special times and that they're going to pass. They will remember what to do when things get back to normal. Also, you aren't the first parent to have to change things up for reasons out of your control, and you won't be the last. But you deserve to live in a peaceful home. And your child deserves it too. So be flexible and be brave. You can do this. I know you can. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button so more parents can find it. Subscribe if you'd like, and hit the bell button if you want to be notified of new episodes. So till next time, hang in there and be kind to each other.